Hey guys, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I want to share with you guys my minion leveling build for the Necromancer. In Season 4, this build is extremely powerful and I can highly recommend it for anybody hopping into Season 4. I think this is one of the best builds in the game, or one of the best classes to really play this season. So without further ado, let's just hop straight into the video. Now I will have this all up on a Mobility build planner, which I'll link down below in the description for you guys so you can follow along. I have everything assigned there, the skill tree as well, the building path. You've got leveling path that shows you which skills to pick up in which order. And this is like part 1 of 2 basically, because this is the starter build, the leveling build. You can use this all the way up to level 100, and I have included a Paragon Tree as well. This is pretty much what I'm running on mine, with mine just a little bit tweaked and changed, and the board numbers and stuff are also a little bit different. But to start out your Paragon board, this is a good start to get you going. So once you pass level 50, and if you are using this build, you will fly past level 50 super fast. I actually finished off the capstone, the first one at level 32, and then the second one at level 45. I completed the capstones. It's absolutely crazy. Super strong build. And the main focus is we are going to focus on the skeletal mages. Eventually, you probably want to switch over to the golems, or maybe other way around. We are going with like a Shadow Blight build because we are stacking with shadow damage, but for the most part in the build I've left it to without the shadow damage. The main reason being is because the shadow damage is kind of it's bugged at the moment, so it's not actually really working 100% on your skeletal mages, but hopefully they fix that soon and it will work. Otherwise we'll just convert over to like a full golem build. But everything is there, and everything we had, the skill tree, the paragon boards, and the aspects and everything. Obviously, this is a leveling build. Those are like the ideal aspects. You don't need any of these aspects, but you will be getting a lot of these from the season journey as well. Just keep that in mind. Anything that buffs your minions, like the Frenzied Dead, the aspect of what gives you 2 extra warriors and mages. This one over there is crazy. This one as well gives your minions damage while they're alive. All of this is just really good and all adds to the build. You don't need any of it. Literally just slap on minions, run straight into mobs, and they will just disintegrate. But yeah, super strong build. Let's hop into it. So first things we will go over is my skill tree. Now I have listed it in the build thing on Mobility. You want to pick up Reap. These are your first 2 points just to get further on down in the tree. And then we actually go into Blood Surge early on with Supernatural Blood Surge. You'll pretty much be using this all the way up to about level 30, 32, 35. That's about when I switched over to full minions. So I dropped the Blood Surge and I picked up Blight in favor of Supernatural Blight, because you and your minions deal 20% increased damage to enemies within Blight. So this is really important for bosses. I mean, 20%, that's a lot of extra damage. And you will be focusing on minions as well. So there we have Hued Flesh over there to increase our damage by 12% when we create a corpse. And we do that quite often. And then moving down, we have Skeletal Warrior Mastery. No brainer, just flat damage for your warriors. And then Grim Harvester with consuming a corpse generates 2 essence, and Fueled by Death, you deal 6% increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. That's the only real reason we pick those up, to get further down the tree, as we don't really pick up anything around here. You could go for Blood Mist maybe later on in the much higher levels when you're doing pit and stuff, but obviously then we'll be using a different build, and I'll make an updated version of like an end game minion build. We'll actually pick up Blood Mist as an immunity. We come down, we pick up Decrepify with Abhorrent Decrepify just for the cooldown reduction, so we can spam our golem often, because the golem is actually like what really wrecks in this build. Then we have Dazed Approach there just for movement speed, with Dazed Embrace for damage reduction and more damage to close enemies. Amplify damage, so when they are cursed they will take more damage as well. And Skeletal Mage Mastery. Obviously you want to try and get points on that on your gear if you can. And we come over to Corpse Tendrils with Plague Corpse Tendrils, so your main form of like CC, grouping up and also applying vulnerable. Very, very strong, especially once you start getting into tampering. You can actually make the radius of this very, very large, and you can spam this quite often, every 10 seconds or so, depending on like the cooldown resets with your Decrepify. And then on the darkness skills of X, since we are leading into like a darkness spot, I picked all of this up just for increased movement speed. Damage enemies with darkness skill, increase your movement speed, so you go fast. Gloom. When you damage enemies with darkness skills, they take increased shadow damage from you and your minions. So if all the shadow damage is working on minions, it'll make this very, very strong. You deal 9% increased shadow damage to enemies who are slowed or chilled, and 9% increased shadow damage to enemies who are stunned, immobilized, or frozen. They should all pretty much be slowed due to your Decrepify, being like a little mini CC. And then we pick up Army of the Dead, Supreme Army of the Dead, Golem Master just for more increased damage on your Golem. And we have Inspiring Leader with Hellbent Commander. Just more damage for your minions and attack speed, crit strike, all that stuff just stacks like crazy on your minions. And then we come down, and I'm using the Shadow Blight, but in my build planner I have it on Kalan's Edict. This is to focus more on just pure minions without the shadow damage things. So like I said, the shadow damage, you'd switch to this afterwards. So maybe in the early game, use that. And then once you get to like level 35 or 40, 50, whenever you do switch over into War Tier 3, go ahead and change everything up to like how I have it set up now on the Darkness build. But I have it set up on Mobilitics for like pure minions without worrying about any Darkness or Blight or anything like that. And then for aspects and things on our gear, on our helmet, we are using Golem aspect. You could switch this with a Juggernaut aspect early on for progression, or leveling up. The Juggernaut will pretty much just give you like a lot of armor, but I'm already reaching armor cap without it, so I don't need that anymore. I switched over to this for increasing the cooldown of the Golem, because once you can spam this Golem, this thing becomes extremely strong, the Blood Golem. Very, very powerful. I'll show you guys the minions we are using in a sec. And then on our chest, we are using Skeletal Priest, now empower you. So that will then stack, because obviously your stats and empowerment carries over to your minions now. I believe they get about 50% increase damage with this, just by like leeching it from you. And the rolls for these are pretty much just int max life. On there, I'm trying to get cooldown reduction, but it just will not re-roll to cooldown reduction. So I think I'm going to replace that helm anyway, as the thorns is also not really what I want. So that's like just messing around with whatever gear I have for now. On the chest piece, we are running the Skeletal Priest, like I said, with a buff. And then this one is another Skeletal Priest. Empower your Skeletal Warrior's attack to deal shadow damage. And they have a chance to stun enemies. If you're not running the shadow version, just drop that for something else. To the pants, this one you'll be running on all minion builds for you and your minions gain damage reduction. That's pretty much just flat damage reduction for you and your minions. Very, very powerful. You'll run that on every single minion build, without a doubt. And this one as well, your maximum number of Skeletal Warriors and Skeletal Mages increased by 2. Again, you'll be running this on any single minion build. And then this is something I picked up just before I was going to make this video. I actually got this. It was a 3-star, like it had intellect maxed out, maximum life maxed out, and then it had 200% overwhelm damage or overpower damage. But obviously we can't really use overpower damage, so I've re-rolled that to crit strike damage. Otherwise I would have had 3 of the greater affixes on it. So the main thing of you want to get the minions gain increased damage while they're alive. And again, this aspect you'll use on all minion builds, regardless if you're shadow, physical, blood, whatever you're playing, all minions will use this build. And then moving on to the aspect of this is the blighted aspect. Now this is more focused towards the darkness version, you know, like the dark damage blight version, as this is what's going to really give us that massive amount of damage. You deal increased damage for 6 seconds after Shadow Blight. Keep passive damage to enemies 10 times. So if your Shadow Mages are actually proccing this, this will give you an insane amount of damage. Otherwise, if you're not playing the Shadow version, then drop that aspect for something else. Main stats you want on there is attack speed, cooldown reduction, and then maybe move speed. Crit chance is really important as well, because your minions can crit and crit damage and stuff like that. But definitely want to try and get cooldown and attack speed wherever you can on your helmet as well. And on your gloves, you want to try and get attack speed and crit chance on your gloves. The same thing for the rings. You want to try and get crit, attack speed, int, max life. All of those are great rolls. And then the aspects we want to use on this one is each time one of your summoning minions damages enemy, they gain attack speed, as attack speed will just boost them even more. That again will be used on every single minion build, as well as when Army of the Dead is active, your minions gain increased damage and take reduced damage. This is a massive multiplier. You could potentially eventually drop this, but this is a very, very strong multiplier, which I do suggest using. It's one of my better rings that I got. Actually has int, max life, and attack speed. Very, very strong. As we can no longer get attack speed tempering on the weapon, so we have to try and make up for attack speed on other pieces. I still need to do the math and everything. Like I said, this is just my initial. This is literally after 2 days of playing, not even really, like a day and a half of playing. I got to level 100, and this is what I use pretty much going all the way up. And I'm running put level 54 at the moment. I've cleared the 54 with this setup, exact setup. I did it just before I made this video. So as you can see, it has quite a bit of potential, and I just want to go play around with it and min-max it. And then I will bring you guys the updated video. So this is just to get you guys started. We are using the Skeletal Defenders, so they can just taunt enemies for you. You could use the Reapers as well. They're also really, really strong, and they reduce your cooldown. So you could use the Reapers, and then it'll reduce the cooldown of your Golem, so you can spam that even more, as well as Army of the Dead. So very strong over there. And the mages for early on leveling, you could use the cold mages over here for the essence scan if you're trying to use blood surge early on. Otherwise, I would suggest the shadow mages with the extra shadow bolts, because if you're stacking dark damage, with the Shadow Blight proc and all that stuff, then the Shadow Mages is obviously what we're going to be going for. And then Golems, I would suggest the Blood Golem, as they attack about the best out of everything. I think the Bone one attacks the fastest, the Iron one is like the slowest, and then the Blood one is like a good middle ground as well over there for damage reduction and gaining damage. And just, this is a very strong one. He pretty much runs into area and does like a little taunt and explosion, just kills everything around him. Very, very strong. It's pretty much one of our strongest hitting abilities on the Minion Necro right now. So let's have a quick look at the Paragon Tree. So on the first board, we have Amplify over there just to boost all of our damage for us and our minions on cursed enemies. Grab Cult Leader with a Dead Razor glyph. Then we come up, grab on the Bone Graft board, drop in the Essence glyph over here, and then we actually come back to the right, grabbing the Flesh Eater board with the Scourge over there. Like I said before, if you don't need the All Raisers, then you can actually start dropping points over here. Maybe not this one, because you still need the intellect from this point to make that work. But further on in the tree, there was All Raise, where actually I picked it up like right now, much later, because I was like 1 point away from res cap. So like I said, just play around with it and you'll see when you're leveling. There's still like 10 points available on the Mobalytics guide I have linked. So you just fill it out as you see fit. Then we move up yet Scent of Death with the exploit, so vulnerable damage increase there, touching in there. We come up here and we grab Abyssal on the Bloodbath board, and I would suggest putting that in later, as that's just more damage while fortified. You could drop that and instead come to the left first, grabbing the Wither board with Territorial glyph in there, and you can go back later and fill that out. You can fill out the All Raisers and pretty much everything you want to go full out. You just play around with it. Maybe drop some of these early on if you're just trying to get up into the tree faster. So don't put any of those in early game, as you're like, as soon as you hit 50, you can just beeline around to there and then all the way up and grab stuff like as soon as you can. This one's really important. Cult Leader, it's a lot of attack speed and damage. And then coming over to the right, yeah, for Flesh Eater as well. So those three boards, if you want to try and get them as quick as you can with all these glyphs as well. Big damage increased overall to the build. And then just build it out as you level up. And that's pretty much it for the build, guys. Hopefully it helps you out and you guys go speed through the leveling. Minion Necro is insanely OP and I can't wait to see all the different variants of it pop out. I definitely want to work on finishing up this shadow damage one and then try like a full golem build and see how that actually goes. See how hard we can get the bone golem. Maybe you can like one-shot uber bosses. That'll be pretty cool to see. But that's going to be it for this video. So if you guys liked it, please drop a like and a sub to the channel. Helps me out so much, and I'll catch you beautiful people in the next one. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying